everyone. Thanks for tuning in this week for Finance Friday. I'm here again with John Mandt of Croix Wealth Management, and he has a really common question that I thought would be great to share. It's really, should we pay off our mortgage early? John, I'd love you to just kind of weigh in some information on that.
Yeah, one of the most common questions that we get at our office is essentially, should I pay off my mortgage early or should I invest the difference, right? And there are some considerations. There's no right or wrong answer here, but there are some considerations that one would want to take into account when answering this question. So I'm going to go through a few different considerations, and you can take these considerations, apply them to yourself, and see if it's worth doing or not. So the first one would be, what's the interest rate on your mortgage? That might be something that you would be definitely a big consideration. Number two, is there a prepayment penalty on your mortgage? There's not usually too many of those left anymore, but it may be there, so it might be something you might want to check into. Number three, how long do you plan on staying in your home, right? So if you're planning on selling in the next few years, paying off your mortgage earlier or paying that extra payment might have a little bit less value there. Number four, do you have the discipline to invest the extra cash? Some people do, some people don't, and that's something that, you got to ask yourself that and answer yourself honestly there. Number five, do you have an emergency fund in place? And this is something that we're seeing a lot of right now, where people are really finding themselves into trouble with the layoffs and everything else that's going on with COVID-19. Not having this extra emergency fund to kind of fall back on if things start getting tight with the budget and stuff. So having an emergency fund probably takes precedence over doing either one of these, right? If you don't have one in place, I would recommend that you put one of those in place.
What kind of emergency fund are you recommending to your customers? I mean, I get a lot of people ask, hey, what if I make an extra mortgage payment? What will that do for me? But, you're thinking instead of maybe that extra mortgage payment, what kind of emergency fund are you guys talking?
I mean, that's a great question, right? So it really kind of depends on the client, but general rule of thumb is, usually 3 to 6 months of expenses is what you'd want to have in an emergency fund. You just want to sock it away in a very conservative, boring account. Could be a savings account, could be some sort of boring account that's just sitting out there with your financial advisor or something like that. But you just want to make sure that you can have access to it and get a hold of those monies within a couple of days anyways.
Okay. Excellent. So I interrupt you there. Did you have any other points on should we pay it off?
Yeah. So number 6 is a big one, right? So how comfortable are you with debt? If you're not comfortable at all, that emotional decision might, supersede, the savvy investment strategy, right? So
Sure.
get a lot of those, is it emotional decision or a logical decision, right? Based on math. So I get that a lot as well. So number 7, are you carrying balances on credit card or personal loan debt? A lot of times the interest rates on those types of debt instruments can be quite high, much higher than your mortgage, much higher than what you get on a rate of return with your investments as far as dependability wise, right? So it's just one of those things to consider. If you've got, high balances on those types of debt instruments, you might want to pay those down before going into one of these other strategies. Number 8, are you currently paying mortgage insurance, right? That might be a good reason to pay down your mortgage. So you're getting rid of that extra layer of expense unnecessarily, right? So until you get to, 20%? Is that right?
Yeah, it's 20% equity. And sometimes you got to be in the house for 5 years unless you can really prove. But if you've been in your house for 5+ years and you're still paying it, great to have us just relook at the value and see, do you have debt to equity? Like, what's your equity level right now?
Right.
Your
really
mortgage company may require appraisal, but it could be worth it.
Yeah, for sure. And that might be a good incentive to start paying a little extra towards your mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And number 9, how will prepaying your mortgage affect your overall tax situation? There's taxes involved in here and those types of things. So it's definitely something to sit down with your financial professional about and do those numbers. Number 10, are you saving enough for retirement? Some people are, some people aren't, right? Statistics, unfortunately, say that most people aren't, but it's definitely something to consider here. Number 11, how much time do you have until you reach retirement or another goal like saving for college for your kids or something like that? So it's definitely a consideration to take there. And then once you kind of compile all those considerations, and you can kind of do the math and compare the after-tax rate of return that you would expect to receive by paying off your mortgage early to the after-tax rate of return you would expect to receive by investing extra cash, right? And there are some assumptions there, right? So you have to assume a rate of return on your investments and what taxes will look like in the future. So it's not easy, and it's certainly not concrete math that you're doing, because you got to make those assumptions.
Yeah.
And some other considerations is, investing money, there's always some level of risk when you're investing. So there's no guarantees, right? So it's something to consider there.
Excellent. Well, that's actually super helpful. I kind of appreciate that we can share these tips with our clients and just our everybody, some good things. And we'll share John's contact info with this video as well, in case if you have questions or you don't have a great financial advisor. I highly recommend reaching out to John, and he'll just to review things with you. That's actually kind of the great thing for him, is he'll give you some great advice. So,
well, thanks,
awesome,
John. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you again.